What else do we think?
I think it basically means for everyone that's in the world, treat the person or people around you, your peers, the way you want to be treated.
That is so perfect. Now, what's that called? Do we know what that's called? That's called the something rule. Do we know?
The platinum rule.
The platinum clothes. Actually, in the 21st century, platinum is worth more than gold. It's the golden rule. Treat others the way you would like them to treat you. Right? That's how we should live. All wars are civil wars because all men are brothers. Have you seen this before? Do you know? But what do you think it means?
I think it means that like they'll become more friends together and they'll become more like brothers,
Right.
Fighting in the war.
Right. Like the Civil War of the United States. Our Civil War, we fought amongst ourselves. Brothers fought against brothers. So all wars are really like that because we're all brothers and sisters. An enemy is one whose story we've not heard. Yeah, what do we think that means?
We the reason that maybe you don't like somebody is you haven't got to know them, who they are, or why they did something to you.
Right. That's exactly right. Yes. What do you think?
I think it's like saying there's one side of the, say you get in trouble, someone they tell one side of the story and the other side's not even heard. No one knows about it.
They don't know that story, do they? Right? Yeah, how about you? What do you think?
Well, I think it could be like if you have an enemy, you may not try to consider what they think their side of the story is, and you kind of just keep them as an enemy, and instead of thinking that they may possibly be right.
I think you're all right. That's exactly right. So often, we don't know what someone's thinking in their head. They might be mean to us, and we don't know why they're mean to us. But we might think it's because of something else. But if we knew why, if we understood their story, if we knew where they were coming from, it might help us. So we shouldn't be judging other people. This is 1000 BC, and this is us right here, 2013. So if that's true, then this would be about 0, and this would be about 1000. Right? Is my math? How does it look? Everyone can see that okay? So this is 3,000 years. That's a long time. So just to kind of get an idea how long that is, how long has the United States been the United States for? Oh, yeah.
A couple 100 years.
200 years, let's say. So 1776, which would be right about here. So that's how long the U.S. has been here for. So in 3,000 years, that's not a long time. So now, let's go look at the Holy Land and who's had it. Let's look at who's had the control of this Holy Land over the last 3,000 years. Okay? So, it started off with the Jews. And the Jewish people had it. It was called Israel, and they had it for about 1,000 years. So it was Jewish, and it was Israel. Okay? And then, who had it after that? Then the Christians had it. The Romans and the Christians had it. And they had it until about 600. Then the Christians had it. Right? And then, from 600 on, who had it?
The Muslims.
The Muslims had it. So the Muslims had it from here, about 600. You know what? Let's call that 700, because I'm trying to round here. So just, let's say 700. So from 700 until when? Do we know when it went back to Israel? Do we know the date or approximate time? You can guess. Pardon?
1900.
Yes, it was in 1948. It was after World War II. So they had it to right about here. So that's the Muslims. And then Jewish people had it again for the last 60 years. Right. Now, one thing you should know a little bit, just so that we're not hiding something here. From 1100 here to about 1200 is called the Crusades. And that's when the English and the French knights with the big crosses on their jerseys, and the knights went on the horses and they went to Israel, where Israel was, and they took the land back. So for 100 years here, it was Christian. So, what can we see by this? What do we see? What do we see when we look at that?
That there were a lot of like transitions on the Holy Land, and apparently it's still transitioning.
Apparently it
There's
is.
nobody who has a solid timeline for over a thousand years, because the Jewish only had it for 1,000 years. Christians
700.
had it for 700, and then the Muslims would have had it, but then the Christians came in for about 100 years
Right.
and kind of broke it up.
Yeah.
And then now the Jewish have only had 60.
Right. Exactly. Well, 65 if you want to be exact. I'll change that 0 to a 5. So it has been changing. It's been a lot of different people have had it. A lot of different religions have had it, right? But let's talk about the beginning. Let's talk about where these religions came from. This is something that's kind of interesting. We know that we may have started with 2 people. The Bible says that. But the Bible also says that there was a man named Abraham, and he had 2 sons. Do we know about his sons? Do you know this? One son was Isaac, and one son was Ishmael. He had 2 sons, and the Christians and the Jewish people come from Isaac, and the Muslims, they come from Ishmael. So, if we think about being brothers, right, then really, we really aren't all that different. You know, the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims, we're brothers. We really are more the same. So the message in our story is this. Faith bonds us. We're bonded by our faith. So let's respect every religion. And maybe, just maybe, the Holy Land belongs to us all.